Hello and welcome everyone. This is Karthik from IT Learn. Thank you so much for joining in. This session, I'm sorry it started late, specifically because there was a kind of a network outage with GoToWebinar. But now we're connected and let's get going. So team, primarily our focus is on API and we're going to evolve into understanding API at a very large extent. We will talk a lot about it. I'm not going to list everything down, but primarily we'll talk about what are CRUD operations. We'll talk about HTTP status codes. And we will talk about how we do use sample APIs for a web app. Then we will look at PostMan and what PostMan helps us with. After which we need to get into XML and JSON, get a good aspect of how these files are built. And we'll do API programming with Python. And if there is interest, we can also do with Java. That's going to be the flow of what we will do. Maybe overall, we'll take about 2-3 sessions into this. That's the plan. So team, let's talk about API in specific, and let's start at the very beginning. So you get the fundamental concept and you are easily be able to relate to the concept easily. Now, as it stands, I think we spoke about things like web services or what are servers, clients, very technical jargon we've done. At a very concept level, application programming interface is, let us say there's an application here, I'll say A, and there's an application here called B. It's two thin a line. Where is my size out here? Let's go to a little bigger one. And for these two to be able to interact and be able to share content or information, we needed some kind of a interface, some kind of a language that will help us to communicate better. And that became API. Okay. So this is good. I'll just save this. I'll create a folder locally under training. And team, I'll talk about the fact where it comes under SDET. But this training, you can take most of these trainings as they are. Okay. So I'm going to put this under API and just API 1. Now, let's talk about why it has come into play and where it has become more popular for that and why it keeps evolving. This is going to be very interesting. Let's try but I want to make it very understandable for you. Let's talk about humans to begin with. Okay. If you look at a long time ago, we were trying to communicate with each other. And one of the important reasons for communication was within our small groups and so on, for survival and security and food and shelter and so on. But then came trading. When trading came, there was a lot of barter system initially. Barter system basically said that I have a product and you have a product. Let us exchange them both. Okay. And no, there is no equality in them. There's nothing that is equal. So I have too many of one product and this other individual has too many of other products. They're saying, let us exchange them. But then slowly came, in terms of the same concept if we talk about, came coins. Coins basically a promise by a group to deliver that value anytime, correct? So much before what we see today as cash or checks and so on came in coins. Before that came in the barter system. So I'm just trying to show what kind of a data will flow through it. Now, let's talk about what evolved after that. So coins were good. So we were saying that it's going from one user to the other user, and then it evolved into more cash. Then we said larger formats or larger values and various currencies. So look at the data increasing. Here, my data is primarily, I have just writing it in a regular format. You don't look at the overall thing. I'm saying value for that equals 10. There is no denomination to it or anything. It's just a value of 10. But now, as it became cash, then we started adding values. So we said there's a value, there is a currency, and we said there is maybe US dollars in this case. And then I also want to add in terms of who is the, let's say, symbol for security. And that becomes additional content that is going into my check. Let us say that is some US president. I don't know who was the 33rd president of the United States, but let's put that as it. Okay. Now that's become a cache thing. Cache basically saying that I still want to be able to transfer from one user to the other, but there's a currency and it has got a value. It is $10, and you do instantly. Then we're speaking about something called as a check. Now, what happens with a check is we are also saying from and to in this. Did you note how it is changing? The data that we want to be able to give to the user. And each one is like an application. They want to be able to pass information from one to the other. Now they're also adding, and this is becoming, as soon as I see my documents are going to go horizontal and so on, I would want to bring them into the next line. So, okay, and I'll put another semicolon here. And here I'm saying from and to. And then there is maybe also a date field added. So this list will go on, and then came from check to online transfer. So look at how things are getting easier by it. Now to online transfer, we're saying that all I need is, one second. I still need all this data, right, team? Don't you think all this data is applicable? Yes, but no longer is this maybe precedent needed. So I'll kind of strike through this. Where would I get strike through? Right click and see if it is there. No. Expand and see. No, it's not here. Where do I have it in Google Docs? Let's see, format. Text. Strike through. There you go. Alt Shift 5. So I don't need that. And so on. Any questions so far? All that we're talking about is communication. How are they able to communicate to each other? Now, the biggest thing in this is the fact that there is a request being made and a response that you receive. In the regular currency and cash transactions or check or e-transfer fee, what does it mean? You go to the bank and you put in the check or you give in the cash. You do not enter beyond that kiosk window where you do your banking. Yes, everyone, are you with me? Can I get a yes, no, please? You only have that amount of access. Now the bank representative will take your check and say, okay, I know where it has to go, how it has to go. They will verify if funds are available. Okay, so request being made, then we'll say from to fund date fees, and so on. Then response to that you receive, either we will say that gave money, no money, or deposited money, and so on will become the responses from your bank representative. This communication, when it happens in our programming world, that becomes API. So where we're sending a request that we want to say, we need certain things to be handled, and what happens to that request, we don't know. Exactly the same policy if you can look at now, if you look at another example as any app team, I'll tell you a simple business concept as a restaurant. Okay, so in a restaurant, you have your waiter. They provide the main assistance to you. You are the main user of it. And then you have the management plus the kitchen out here. So you never get into the kitchen. Your job is always to give a request to the waiter saying what you want. The waiter in turn puts in a request to the management or the kitchen, get this order ready, and then comes a delivery back. And on that delivery, you'll get feedback. Okay, good delivery, bad delivery. I have delivered food on time, not on time. Is the order good, correct? All these things are most details of it, but the process is the same. So what it meant is any customers coming to it has to be able to do it systematically. And then they said, let us make this as the menu where a customer could come in, look at what is available, and then do accordingly. Did you understand, team? The menu will give you items 1 to 10, and you can only do those. If you want to do customization, then what happens? You would have to directly somehow or request the waiter to help you meet the management or the chef who's preparing it. All right? So now to make things easy, we have a menu. The menu basically says get me food, pack me food, or which item, what, how. Now, we will talk about what are the difference from web services team. Primarily what they're used for, who's more using these in demand, and who are using web services. So we'll discuss about those protocols a little later. We will come to the concept on it right now. Now, the same thing with a weather provider or a currency exchange or someone who's managing various WhatsApp or Facebook kind of applications, where you are a user. Okay? They have lots of content. Either they have just data within their own databases internally, they can query and get it, or again they have a chain of users or other databases or other APIs. So at the end of it, the user sends a request and they get a response on what is being sent. This becomes the most important thing as to what a request and a response is. In our so before we get to HTTP, CRUD and HTTP, let's talk about what we are trying to do in this application. Okay, think of a scenario. There is a application, so there's a web app, and user page or login request. So user is trying to log into that, and what does he send? Sends a username and a user password. That's the request. And as a response, what you get are typically your status codes and what do with it teach. So there are different types of status codes. I'll get to it. Now, response is signed in or not signed in. The other things you could do is you could go into your account, sign in, and make a change. Change as in you can add new users, let us say, or you will update your profile, or you want to delete your profile, or someone wants to, or you want to view or look or read other information. So these are the generic requests. So generic requests that we make on any database are the CRUD operations. So all of this content that you see, be it what is the weather or current status and all this, as on today or as on any date, will have to be stored somewhere in the database. How to get that data, how to query for it is our criteria. Now, what are these CRUD operations? Let's look at this before. The reason this is important is we can then look at a practical example. CRUD operations are nothing but create, read, update, and delete. In this, what you're doing is you're adding a new record into the database. So you're entering something there. It could be a post that you do on your WhatsApp or your Facebook or so on, and that goes as a record. Doesn't have to be that a new user is always a record. The next is just to view. Next is to update. Just to view, maybe public or private record. Depends on your signing, your authentication. What is it that you could do? Update is basically you find an existing record and make changes to it. That's the very critical component. So we're not creating something new. It is already there. I'm already reading it, but I'm also changing something and putting that back. That becomes, one second, I think what happened, there are a lot of people who were registering late for the webinar. We have to approve some of them. Sorry, I'm back. So we have to find an existing record, make changes to it. And the final one is delete. Delete basically tells me that find a record and remove forever from the database. So if you want to delete any of your posts that you put on Facebook or any of your requests that you've done, you want to be able to delete the entire record. These are the regular formalities. Now let us take an example for this and link to RESTful API. And we will talk about this, what is representational state transfer. It's a very simple concept. What we're saying is as it goes from one to the other and so on, the state of what we're trying to represent as data or content that is changing, especially related with what we're doing as a command. But we will come to it, link to RESTful API. We're going to go to reckless.nt. stay with me. Don't go there right away, please. And I think there's a little streaming delay between the audio and the video, if I'm not wrong. Okay. Now, here's the website. So, as the name suggests, it's basically sending requests and getting responses. And we're just trying to simulate something that happens in a real world. And the entire transactions that you do, the CRUD transactions, primarily create, read, update, delete, we are doing it on fake data. So not any real data that we are worried with. Clear so far, everyone? Let's focus on this UI. It's easy for us to play around with. And then we will look at status codes and try and replicate the same also in PostMan. So I'm going to scroll down, and you would see that the first section that is we're getting to is the give it a try. Now, just very similar to a CRUD operation are these operations that you see on the left side as buttons. Do you see them, please? And they become part of what we do as a method. So, when you send a request, it is made up of few things. The first one is the endpoint URL. We have to say where the application. Now, be it you're getting something from Google or Facebook or weather.com or regress.in, I need to specify that URL. The second thing that goes into it, because unless I know where that application is, there's nothing further that I could do. The second thing that goes into it, the method that will perform, or more likely action that we are doing. And here comes your specific actions that are more to do with HTTP protocol. Once we do all of this thing, I'll explain to you the terms and the traditional differences. I want to very quickly get you the concept. We're going to spend a couple of days on that. So the first is get. Get is nothing but you're doing the read. Read is out here from the CRUD operation. Do you see? That is what we're saying is get. The next is post. Post means that's a API action or method that we're performing, which we are trying to create a record. So this is exactly the same thing as create out here. Then we have put and also patch. Very subtle difference. I'll explain to you later. But these both are doing what is called as an update for us. And the last and most important thing is the delete. Not important from us. Just something that you need to be, of course, careful of. So, can we delete that specific data that we found or not? Now, these are the methods that we can perform them on our regress.in to see how it plays out. What we also typically have to send is the header data, and it could be the body, which can be going in mostly JSON format theme, or it can also be pushed to other formats. But we're going to talk significantly about JSON. And I know I've covered these as more bullet points so far. Now let's put this into action. We're going to play with, where are we? Example, regress.in. Here. This example, and then PostMan. We will try and achieve the same on PostMan. A few things. All right. So let's go back to request.lk. So what is it that it's trying to do out here? So when I say this request, it is nothing but what is the request that we are sending. So what this UI application did, are we on the same screen, everyone? The audio and I? Can you confirm that to me, please? Is there any lag between the screen and the audio? Fine? Okay, great. So I'm in the first one, please. Look at this. Get list of users. So then look at what we're trying to do in this. Let's say get list of users. So in this case, my URL is out here. Do you see this? If I right click this, copy that link address. Oh, this is single user. I'm sorry. I'm going to go to list users. And I think this is the URL. Copy link address. My endpoint URL is this. Now, what am I trying to do? My method that I'm performing is get, and the response is the most important thing. Is the status code. One second, I'm sorry. That is the HTTP status code, and let's talk about this. Now, what does it mean? The response 200 here means success. So basically, no problem. It could do whatever you asked it to do. So I have a URL. When I send a get response to that, I'm getting this. And what I'm also getting as a body is this JSON data. It is giving me this entire data of some content that we are seeing. Now this becomes your JSON data. Your output data is list of users in JSON format. Now the same thing, look at another one. Now here, let's look at it again. I am getting a list of users using this URL, and I got a response of 200, which is good. And here is my data that I could receive. The data is nothing but it tells me that here are different users in it, and this is the JSON format. Okay. Now let's click on the next one for an example. And here it says, if I send a get response for this request on this is the URL, then I'm getting one user maybe. So let's look at this, right click, copy link address, and paste this. What is it that I get? Do you see this, Steve? So the data itself that is there here is primarily just content right now, Steve. But this could be embedded into any HTML file or program or application. So, but now we're getting the raw data. Just to get this understanding very clearly, please. Get one single user using this URL. The response will be 200. I'll get this data. So now, if I change this URL here, what could happen? If I say 3, the first name is Janet Weaver. Now let's see what happens. Now it is Emma Wong. So we are getting a list of users which are publicly created dummy data that request.in created for us to play on. Then we have Eve Holt. Let us see if I have team members in it. It says no, there is not. So this inbuilt one, and I see that when I click on it also, it shows me what data. And so basically, if I change this value somehow to 40, then I'll get a different response. So I need to know and decide based on that response. And the status code HTTP, did I write somewhere? Yes. Are nothing but these two. Anything starting with 1 is basically information. Just FYI. Anything starting with 2 is a success. That indicates that client request. Client is you. Request is accepted and delivered successfully. That's like all done. Business well done. Barter system well done. Order in a restaurant well done. Or searching for weather well done. If you, for example, if I go to weather.com and type in an unknown zip code, it does not know where to get that data from. That is a different error that we see. Anything starting with a 3 is a redirection to another service. So this could be not available with it. So it needs to redirect and get it from somewhere else. Or it will tell us that, what we can do from there on. Only 5 of them, please. 4 is basically a client error. Could be like 404 error not found, and 500 or 5x are internal or server errors. The server itself is to blame. Let's quickly also see for HTTP status codes. Okay, that's good. There you go. That's it. 1 is informational, 2 is successful, 3 is redirection, 4 client error, 5 is internal server error. And there's a list of these things. There's actually not so many. But as we go, we will try and reach out to these and come back. One of the simplest ones that you would have come across is the 404 not found. That's pretty common that you would see. And you would also see something like 500 internal server errors coming up for us. So, but what we got right now is 200. 200 is okay. 201 created, accepted. So depending on each, these will keep changing. Let us try and play around a little bit more on request.in. Let's go back. So first response, get a list of all users. This is going to a different page. Even that response is good. It's okay, 200. And here are the list of users that it has. Maybe I don't see the same names. Maybe it's changing constantly, or it's something that this is constant. I'm trying to map this with the other one. They're only giving us fake data either way. And so that was get. Then single user. And now look at the single user not found thing. Are we there, everyone? So like I tried that 24 and so on, this is the body that we got. And if I try to go to such a URL, we tried 40, right? Actually, I'm getting nothing as a response. No body is coming back to me. And let's go back now. So this post put all of these. So we have a few ones only teams to play around. I would definitely want you to spend a little bit more time. But let's see, single user not found, we got to 404. 404 is resource not found or page not found. It didn't find that, so it didn't return anything. List of resources. So this, look at this. Each one is a different set of data that it is getting. And this response is good. Here, single resource list. I don't know what this one. Now here is a single, okay, this is a list, this is a single, and here is a resource not found again. So if you're going beyond something, these for you are all getting. Now comes our post. What is post? Think of posting it like this. Once you post it in the postal Dropbox, you cannot change anything on it. Then you go back and do something. So post is creation. You're creating it. For the first time, it is getting. When you're trying to update, you do a put or a slash to it. So post is basically saying, if I want to send data, now do you see? So far, for getting, there is nothing. I'm just sending what is the request. I get a response. Request, response as of now. Okay. In post here, I also need to tell what is it that I want to post. Correct? Post is creating. Creating is, it will add this new record. And see, the response is not 200. Does that mean that there is an issue? No. How do we confirm? We look at the HTTP status code. Anything 2 starting with is successful for us. And what is 201 then? It is created. The request has been created. Now, if the same one they were trying to create, does it have a post unsuccessful? Here. See, we did a post create. This is my input. Let me take highlight to be easy. This is the method that I'm performing, team, posting. And we are creating a new record. Here is my request URL. And this is my data that I'm going to post. And this is in a JSON format. Once submitted, once I click on post, it gives me a response 201, which is that created, which is just on Wikipedia. And then we have the response body also as to, okay, you know what? I have this content that has been created. Since you gave me the information, yes, it added an ID and it created that date automatically. Okay. So each time we're doing this, we're able to post it in the. So post is sending it a new one. Now, what does put do, everyone? Put, like I was saying, it's nothing but updating a specific one. I'll explain the put and patch in the next session, team. But let's focus that put and patch are both trying to update it. So I put something into it and it says 200, all done. And here, even this, both responses are correct. Delete is primarily you're saying that I want to be able to delete a specific record. Now it says 204 response. What does it mean? There's no content. The server successfully processed the request. There's nothing, not returning any content. So primarily that record is deleted from it. That is what it's trying to process. Because it will refresh the data, so fake data team, but just for us to play around with those comments, commands. Another post, register successful. So we have a URL to it. And I've got my content in here. This as is looks very, very unstructured, but when we expand this in tomorrow's session as JSON and look at the granular details to become easier, team. And here is my request that I'm sending in. Where is it? The post request. So to register a successful user, I believe with the email and password. And response is all good, successful, done. Now, the same thing, if they try to do something as unsuccessful by not using the password, it's got a 400 response. And that becomes basically the ones with client error. Anything that has a client error is at 400. So it's a bad request. It does not have enough, or it has too large, or some content that is there. In this case, why did it give us 400? Can anyone tell me, please? The one before post was successful here, but the one I'm posting now is not successful. Why would it be? Why did I get a response 400 here? I actually did answer, but I want to make sure. Actually, it's telling it also here. So it gives you that, saying that it has, no, it's not the same email. It's error, it's missing that password. See, to post, not post, how to post, you can write a lot of logic internally, who can post and so on. This one is a successful one. It is, we're saying that let us post a data. What is the data? I have an email and password, so I want to create a registered user. Okay, just email and password is enough. But if I have a total bigger list of what user has, then I can use the other one. Response, good. Created, there's a token also that is created, that's good. Here, I missed that in the body, and that's why it's closed. So then, login successful. Again, look at why login successful is a post rather than a get. Can someone tell me, please? Why do you think this action of login using an email and password is a post rather than get? Because each time you do that, you have a security thing that's going on, and your security or transaction through a window session till you get logged out is to a token number, and that token number represents that your transaction or your current session is ongoing and live. So for this session, there's a token number that is given to it. Now for that, we are doing a post team. So where we are not just having to get information as the token, but also we are using what user credentials we got to send. We're not creating an email user team. We're just making sure we take this detail, check in the backend, and come back and see if it's successful or not. Now, if someone enters unsuccessful credentials, look at it. Number one, there's no password, so error will come, and there will be no token associated or given to it. Got this? So all of this is what it is all about. How do you interact and how do you do requests and play around more and more? There is nothing more than it, but just going a little deeper into it. Did you get a decent idea, team, of what it is happening, what is going on in the back end? Once again, just the last couple of ones, so for you to understand. The reason for login we are doing a post is not only is it important that I get a response that I've logged in and token is coming in, session token, but I have to send the credentials, the email and password, and I get that, okay, all successful. But if I enter something that is incorrect, then I would get saying that, I would get a response that is bad and missing password. Do you see the components that are there in this page right now, everyone? Before I go into PostMan, there is one action here, there's one here, there's here, there's here, here. Okay. So this is your method that you're performing. This is your request. This is your response that we are receiving, and any data that is going in. We use JSON for creating all of this as a data. That's the most popular one. Now, team, what is PostMan? What does it do? Tool that helps us achieve API programming /testing easily. I'll show you what it does, how it works. Okay. The first thing, team, it's a Windows app or a desktop app, so it will work with Linux and Mac and Windows. So you need to download it. Pretty simple. I don't think there are any complex steps in it. Postman. Actually, it's a website that you start with. Suppose it's actually postman.com. Whatever we are doing on the paper or using request.in right now, we're going to repeat the same on Postman and try those. Tomorrow, we will do the same and do it at a coding level as well. So here is where, team, you need to sign in or download. I've downloaded it and I'm using either a trial or a free version. I'm not sure if there was a priced version to it. But it is good to see what it does. And if your org has a lot of their work that is happening through API and maybe microservices also, then you can definitely look at other packages. But let me show what is happening with Postman. So downloaded, installed, and logged in on my desktop. You would all want to do the same. I'll click on download. I'm going to take this link and put it up for you. I started playing around Postman only in the last 6 months or so. So it's a very, very simple tool, very easy. All right, so where are we? Okay, so I've done a few earlier. Now, one of the first things is you can create something called as a collection. Collection is nothing but a list of API requests that you have pre-programmed. So we will start with one request and then we will go. So I'll go to API. So I'm going to create a new API here. Forget all this that you're seeing for now. Actually, let me start with something new. New project is there. Environment. API June 2020. Add manage variables, so I don't want to manage. That's fine. Here, actually, this is the one. No. So team, once you open Postman, you're coming to the API section. I'll just close this old one. So all just like tabs. Left side you have a few things. Right side you have a few things, and so on. So I'm going to open a new one, and this way is your untitled request. So let's rename this. I'm unable to rename it. Let's start with a new API here. What is it doing? One second, team. Let me add a new collection itself. That way it's easy. API June 2020. So primarily, like what I was saying, collection is a list of APIs, and you can API requests that you pre-programmed. You can execute them as a collection, one after the other. Now, so in this collection that we created, it's basically the name is API June 2020, and we're going to add a new request into it. The few more things that it gives you as a tool, as an application, but you don't have to worry too much. Just stay with me on where we are going. Keep your eyes visually there, please. Add request, and we will give it a name. Let us say, I'll say get one test or get test one, just a test, and save to API. Now, what do we need to provide for this? Did you remember always that we needed what is the action? Then I need the endpoint URL. Remember? So I'm saying that I want to, let us say, try the single user login. So I'll right click and copy this link address. That's my URL. So my get is the command that I'm using. If I want to change it, I have the other options. Don't worry too much on these. Right now, they're also to do with other commands, but we will focus a lot on this top one. So get is our command, and here is my URL. And the URL that I'm sending should be able to return something back to it. What will it return back to me? This response overall, and it says that I should get Janet Weaver with so-and-so avatar. That. So I am now sending this request. And once the request is sent, it is being processed at that URL, and it should give me a response back, taking much longer than usual. There we go. Good. You see this? That's 200 okay with all the details that we want. Now, see what I could do very easily. I could maybe duplicate this. I'll say get test, right? Rename it. True. And get again the same URL, but this time I'll say 40 and send. Now I'm sending a request. The URL, that response is a 404 not found. So each request that you have could be giving us different responses. Let me close the old ones. Yeah, they're asking me to save all these. So that it's clear visually for us, otherwise it will look very cluttered. So get test 2, get test 1. That's all we're looking at right now in this collection. So let's add one more successful one. So let's do it from fresh. So I'm going to my API, the collection, and add request. It's going to be get test 3, same flow. And I want to make sure that this request URL is not invalid. So I'll put maybe 12 if it is there, not sure, and say send. So 200 okay, the time it has taken, the size of the file. And if you notice, it will also mention that where is it? Okay, the format here that we have is JSON. Okay. Now, let's see what has happened in each of them. I have a 200 okay here. I had a 404 not found here, and I have 200 okay out here. Correct? So this became a collection for me, team, and that's API June 2020. So now what I could do is run this whole collection. I believe this is the button. And it will run them sequentially one after the other. It will tell me what has happened. Okay, sending one response, I got this back, and this is what has happened, and so on. Am I missing some buttons here? No, what happened? It's not supposed to. Not linked to any API. Run. Is it a feature or something that I added? No. Yeah, continuous test, population, okay, there you go. I couldn't see this button team. I had to scroll a little. I'll just say run. Check Postman console for more info. What happened? So that is fine. If URL is empty, let's see. So there seems to be something wrong with our get test one. Okay, let's see. Did you see this team? We missed out the URL. So now this is good. This has a URL. This has a URL. Let's run this individually once. Get test one. So send the request and get the response. 200, okay. So we have all of them now. The reason it was giving me that error team because this URL was not present. It disappeared in this. So now let's run this collection. Collection is nothing but a group of API commands or requests that we have given. So you could set certain more parameters into a team. That's the beauty of it. But basically, we're trying to run them now. Why did it again say request URL? That's strange. No, I have it correctly here. Let's see that. Here's my option. Here are my options. So there are requests in this. They're all part of this collection. And this is basically running that entire collection. Not linked to any API. What do you mean? I added get test 4 and save to API June 2020. And this will do the same one. Another maybe user not found. And all I'm doing is trying to run them one after the other team as a collection. But it's giving me some error. I want to do the same in Python also if I can. A little bit. Let's see Python. Do we need to save the collection? Good question. I think this collection is already saved and it's also renamed. So it is ready. All that I need to do is click here and it should start with the execution. Let me try the previous one, which was there by request. Still trying to do something. In this case, I think it's saving automatically. In your Java or Python, you'll save it based on it. See, this is happening without any errors out here. Let's see. Let's go back to our API collection. Let's send this request. And we've got 200 okay. So this is good. All this is good. Let's run this. Run. Just trying once again. Should work, otherwise we'll restart PostMan. Okay, so get test one. Get test one. Error occurred while running Python console. Let's see what does it say once again. Sorry, PostMan console. Where are we here? See, again URL is empty. You're right, that URL is not getting updated for some reason. Let's try. What do we have? We primarily have 4, save or something. There's nothing for save. It's all auto save that's happening. Save. Oh, okay, save. Now, will you make sure get test 1, I have everything with test 2, 3, 4. So 4 API requests under one collection. I saved this, just save. This is externally saving response. And again clicking on this play and saying run. And after this, if it still gives an issue, I will unselect this in the next time and try and run it. Because the issue is happening with the first one itself. Now it's happening with the second one. Looks like. Does not have any test. Let's do one thing, team. Let me go to each and save this application. The next, save this. Next, save this. Okay, I'll put a star also for you. On to the top. Share collection, manage roles, rename. That's about it in here. So when we run this, the old one, just see. We have few requests. And once again run this. Yeah, I just saw save button was there. Did it run anything to you? I didn't notice. Okay, get test 1, 2, 3, 4, all are there. Save responses if I want to save the responses as a response team once I get the response, that is. So get test 1 pass, test 2 pass, test 3, 2 failed, 2 pass. That is what it is for us, or at least from us. Everything is a pass team. As an execution, results are the one that we are looking at. Now it kind of works perfectly fine. And if you notice that, I believe it was definitely about saving them individually. So we made sure, I think that was get test 1, we saved it, get test 2, saved it, and so on. Now, the same we could also do in Python team. Let's do that tomorrow. But let's try maybe another command in here. So I'm going to add here, add a request. And what request do we do? Let's do, why don't we do a login successful post once? Okay, so that's a post command. That's my URL. And I'll say this is post login 1. Okay. Come to the end. Here's my URL. Anything else that I need to change? Yes. The command becomes post and send. Quick answer, everyone. Just say yes or no. Am I going to click on send now or not? Click on send, yes or not. Okay. I'll save it. That's fine. But is the request complete? Saved it. Can we send it? Okay. So let's send. What is the 400 badge request? And it says missing email or username. And that was exactly the issue for us too. So let's duplicate this. And I'm going to rename this to post login 2. And here, what should I send now? It wants me to send this data email and password. Where do I send this data? Where do I put that data? Is it in the parameters here? Some authentication tab, there's headers, and so on. You basically put that in your body, and you're going to put some raw data in here. Choose JSON as a format. Paste this. You see what we pasted? The details that we had. And let's send this now. Perfect. 200 OK. So the same what we were doing. All that you need to know is the method that you're going to use, the URL to which you're going to send the API request into. Does it require any body? The status code that comes back, depending on which you can do programming of what to do and how to do. And then you can also look at the output body that can come in different formats. This is JSON format. You can look at the same content in different views also. Let's stick with JSON. The specific reason I'll keep explaining. And we're going to take all of this and try and do the same in what's that? Python as well, team. It's going to be much more interesting too. Now, let's do one more. Just copy, duplicate. See how much playing around we're doing. That's all we need to be doing, team. Get it? Okay. See. Start with the basics, understand those fundamentals, and do this. You'll be set in the next couple of days on all this stuff. So we're going to do the same. I have the body. Let's play around and not put the raw, not text. I'm sending it as JSON data. And what if I delete email? And send this. Error missing email or username. Okay, so it didn't even go till password. So that's fine too. So that's good. So that's exactly what we expected. Now, let's make sure we save them because we saw that we did see some issue earlier, which we don't want to. Now my collection is updated. So I have few get and I have few posts. Once we get a little bit more about we'll do on the application, we'll do a little bit delete and also put patch. So we can look at these two commands. Now, get test one, get test two. Let's run this collection. I'm kind of towards the end of today's session. Any questions from your side? Anything that I can guide you with? And let's run them. I mean, JavaScript is a scripting language. JSON is an object notation. You use it to store. It is like an array. So that's a language. This is JSON is a data form. There was a question saying instead of JSON, if we use JavaScript, it is not instead of JSON you use JavaScript. So those two are different. So individually to run the request, we need to save them. Yeah, so you have it under this collection. Think of it as a folder. Now I'm running this as a collection, and that's fine. You can always run the individual one. Let's say I just want to get test 3, then send it, and you get in this response. Now all this can be programmed and done at a programming level than PostMan. PostMan is helping us doing it visually. That's good, but we can put in a lot of logic and command through coding for that. Let's see. Post should have email and password. That's correct. Can we create our own read request at regress.in? I don't think you have the access to create your own at regress.in, but what we have, we can play around. we can do it for other applications. So that's a collection, and these are individual runs that you could do. Postman, primarily from that perspective, that is all that I have wanted to get through. There's nothing more beyond it. We may add more requests into it. That's the only thing. But what is important is the where are we? Let's get it away from. Okay. Is these operations that we're doing and the CRUD operations, the different HTTP protocols instead of in terms of the status code that we get. What are the different requests that we're sending out here? Get, post, put, patch, and delete. And how do we have a header to it that you can send, and how you can get some body tags as well. So this becomes important. Tomorrow, when we start, we will be going directly into, we've discussed this, we've discussed a little bit on Postman, and yes, XML, JSON, but Python. That's about it from my side, team. In this, I'm not doing any SOAP UI at all, or SOAP, but maybe later, because we have a very, very strict schedule on what we have to do as training team. So I'll stick to that schedule too. This is the RESTful API with authentication, Kiran. At least, to play around with. I will definitely get more examples. Let's do some coding. Day 3, maybe some more examples we'll get. All right, thank you everyone. Really appreciate you joining, and please do recommend anyone else who's looking for specifically SDET API trainings, join the live webinar team, and we can take it from there. Google Doc link and this video, I will put it into the YouTube channel, so please make sure you're on there. Just put it in the chat. Thank you so much, everyone, for participation. I look forward for tomorrow. Same time, 8:30 a.m. team. It's not 8 a.m. like I previously thought. It's 8:30 a.m. and I'll see you all at that time. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye. Sharing the link to all meanwhile, or YouTube link, right? Control A, B, A. Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow then. And yesterday evening we have the Excel training. See, the Excel training is very simple. I've seen people struggle a lot with Microsoft Excel. I think there are a lot of fundamentals that we miss. I'm just not saying copy paste. It's just the basic standardizations of it. Lot of content related, lot of pivot related that we will do, and presentations through Excel. So join if you're interested. I would take about 2-3 sessions into it. Have a great day, everyone. See you later. Bye.